Hello, good morning. Welcome to this podcast where I chat about all things yarn. My name is Doug and I'm coming to you from Albuquerque in the sunny desert of New Mexico. It's a beautiful day today outside and still cold, still winter, but we love it because we can wear our woolen sweaters and things and shawls and all of that, right? I want to start with something that I decided to wear because I watched the Kiaspod Wool Magic podcast. I'm sure you all know Kia from Sweden, and she is currently working on a sweater with a round yoke from Handspun, which reminded me of this one that I don't think you have ever seen because I made it so very long ago. I did knit this from Handspun yarn, and I believe the purple was a blend with alpaca, which I had purchased at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival when we still lived in Maryland. And I decided to work I wanted to make something that incorporates all kinds of leftover bits of yarn and colors. I know it was a struggle to really come up with the yoke to make that right, and I was far away from doing short rows and did I even say that? I made it up. I came up with the pattern, and I also so I have no recollection of what it is, but hey, it was fun. That's what I remember. So let me show you. This is how it looks like. It has the same concept worked in on the bottom, and it's a very warm sweater, and that's why I don't really wear it much anymore. Also, no, I shouldn't say that I wear my sleeves tighter, because for a sweater that I wear outside, I don't need that because I would wear it over something else. But what I haven't worn it in a very long time, but what I remember is wearing this one a lot while our kids were little and I was outside with them on the playgrounds. Yeah. Good memories of Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and of course of the kids being little. Now let me show you a few more, because actually I have to say that I promised Marina, my friend in New Zealand, of the Strawberry Patches podcast. She hasn't filmed anything in a good while because she has her hands full with her beautiful 2 little girls. But hi Marina, I know you've wanted an episode about sweaters, and so I thought this would be interesting also for everybody, and I pulled out just a few sweaters for this time to show you. And for inspiration, let's get on to the next one. This is another sweater that I really, really love for various reasons. I love the design on the front, and I love the yarn that I've used, which is a handspun that I specifically dyed for this sweater. I wanted this pale, washed out, watery blue, and I think it turned out fantastic and exactly the color that I wanted. And then I spun the yarn specifically for this project. I sadly have to report that there is one problem. This is where my jeans end, and this is, it like overlaps maybe an inch. So it's not really my favorite in regards to the length. And I think what happened was really that I was worried about running out of yarn, which I ended up not doing, but it's a bottom up knit, so I couldn't add anything else after realizing that I would have plenty of extra yarn. So I'm still sad about that, and I thought, well, I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to wear a long white shirt under it today to really just to give it a little bit of a revival, because if you look closely, you see that it has been in the closet folded up for quite some time. And the pattern, sorry, I haven't told you yet, is the Fog Cutter by Thea Colman. Yeah, kind of cute little details with the split hem and longer in the back. Yeah. And the next sweater is Sunshine Coast by Heidi Kirrmaier. And this was knit out of my own yarn, ZiaWoolz Cozy. I wanted a purple sweater. I made this, I think, 2 years ago. And I must say, I really, really like this. I think the construction is really cool with some really nice design elements. It fits me perfectly. I love the way the sleeves fit, and I am still to this day very glad that I was inspired and saw this on the Pineapple Knits podcast. Yes, what else can I say? Not really anything, but I did want to mention that if you're interested in more details about any of the sweaters or in more information about the patterns or anything, you can find me on Ravelry as Paper Dag, and everything is on my project page as well. In case I forget something like needle size or anything, I would not remember, and I don't want to look that up because I talked about it in previous episodes. So next one. This is actually the sweater that I've been wearing the most since it got done. It's very light because I knitted it with fingering weight yarn. My own yarn, this one, the Dreamcatcher base. And I found this in my stash and thought it would be a fun contrast that has a little bit of a bite with the colors, if you understand what I mean. Kind of very interesting, I think, with this dirty green in combination with this green as the main color. Yeah, it's light, it fits me well, and it has the perfect length, and it has perfect sleeves, and that's why I love it a lot. And the pattern is called Yellow Brick Rodeo, and it's by Annarella. Just simply genius. And I have to say, it's one of those where you don't have to buy an expensive hand-dyed yarn to make this. You could use something, a commercial fingering weight yarn for the body, and just use one of those beautiful hand-dyed skeins that we all collect, right? So here's your inspiration for today. I also brought one shawl, And it's also another shawl that has been finished for quite some time, but I pulled it out the other day because I thought, man, I haven't worn this really. And I thought I really should. And the reason also why I pulled it out was that I just got a giant box of this base that I used for the shawl from the supplier in New York State, and so I'm very excited about opening that up and getting some colors onto this beautiful yarn, because I have to tell you, this is, and I've talked about this plenty of times, but there's a lot of new viewers, so I mention it again. Sugarloaf was one of the early bases that I carried, one of the early yarns that I carried, because for two reasons. I wanted to carry that yarn. There was a dyer that I always admired. Her name is Delis, and her yarn logo is Dancing Leaf Farm. She's in Maryland, and I know her from when we lived in Maryland. And she and me, we lived by the Sugarloaf Mountain. And so I wanted to carry the yarn that this specific base that she carried and still carries. And I wanted to name it Sugarloaf in honor of her, whom I had always admired, and in honor of kind of like our former, home, I should say. Yeah, where we used to live. This is the Odyssey shawl by Locatelli. I used 3 yarns by Dancing Leaf Farm, the top 3, and the bottom one is mine. Same base, dyed by me, Saturday with Mel. And what happened was that I wanted to, because the pattern is written for a DK or a worsted, but I wanted to use these yarns together. I thought they looked fabulous, and I kind of had laid them out together, and I thought, that's great, they work together. And so I thought, I'm gonna figure out how I can do this pattern for my fingering weight yarn. And it really actually was not hard, because what you want to do is you want to figure out where the pattern repeat starts. Let me show you how that looks like. Now maybe you can see it very well here. And I just found a stitch count that works for the pattern repeat, but with more stitches. That was all it took. Like, say maybe I had 6 for the edge. I can't remember. Yeah, it has a garter edge. So maybe I had 6 for the edge, and then 10 times 10 stitches for a 10 stitch pattern repeat. I don't remember. I'm making the numbers up. Then you, of course, with the fingering weight yarn, you would have the first pattern repeat too early. So maybe you want to choose to start the pattern where you have 15 pattern repeats plus your 3 and 3 stitches for the edges. I hope that makes sense to you. It's really, really not hard. It's very logical. So pattern repeat that you need to fit into your stitch count. So you just knit a little bit more. For me, I knitted wherever. I just added these elements of the beautiful pattern sections wherever I wanted, I think, as far as I remember. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I kind of roughly paid attention. But, well, whatever it was, it works out just fine. And I love the way it turned out with this giant size and how lightweight it is. Yeah, so that was the Odyssey shawl. Now on to what I've been knitting on. And it's kind of funny because I was putting out all the things and then I thought, that's not a lot of knitting, because I was out of town and I had some car knitting, but I'm like, what did I even do? And because one of the things that I could not do that I wanted to work on was the children's sweater. You may remember that I talked about that new design that I'm planning, a kid's sweater. I know there's at least one of you, no, two, I should say, that are interested in that one. And I send a big hello to you. But so I wanted to work on this sweater, but I pulled it out in our little Airbnb, and guess what happened? I had not brought any of my notes, and I had already figured out some things that I did need to know, and so I was not able to continue on it. So this is where I am right now with my neckline. It's a baby neckline, and it's another knit on my end for my goddaughter. And I don't know what the yarn is, sorry, but I'm using this. I'm going to try to find out for you and put it on the screen. And then I bought this off-white that I over-dyed to go with the purple. Stay tuned. But what is finished? A few things are finished, and you may guess one of them. You've seen this one finished. Sorry, it's a little crinklish, crinklish, whatever. This is ZiaWoolz Heartbreaker Cozy Decay. And then I had you've seen the start of the next one, and it is done. This one is ever so slightly smaller because I was worried about running out of yarn, like I said. With the other one, it was close. So I really like the way this knitted up. Also, ZiaWoolz Cozy. And of course, I still love the little leaves. Isn't that just the cutest? Yeah, both of these are for my goddaughter and her big sister. I just love knitting little things. They're so fun. You get them done quickly. They're cute. Yes. And I almost forgot to mention that I brought you something else that's finished, which I've been wearing a lot these days when I went out and I wanted to have a quick thing to cover up my neck. So this is totally, how can I say that? An advertisement for my own pattern. If you've never seen this, it's a very, very old knit of mine in a very, very old base of mine. I don't even have this base anymore. And, wonder what the colorway was. I don't know either. And this is a published pattern on Ravelry, and you can find it on my pattern page. I don't think it's a very well written pattern, and I am planning on doing a bit of an overhaul, but I have a German friend who is currently making one for himself and just making a larger version, because this is the one skein version. And so he said he's fine, but also he's German and he doesn't knit a lot of English patterns. So I'm not sure he would catch mistakes, but whatever. Okay, let me show you how this looks like. I don't usually make any more small shawls, but this is kind of, I pulled it out and I thought, wow, this is cute. It is cute, and it's a very soft yarn. So this is really kind of like this small thingy for a quick, warm neck result. Counting Daisies on Ravelry, very cheap pattern, but a pay-for pattern. I had this in here with the little children's shawls, and I wanted to show you this is how the pattern looks like. For the kids' shawl, it's called Waldkind. And by the way, in case you wonder, this is how much I had left of the purple one skein. This, of course, is fingering. And then what else have I been finishing? Ta-da! I have corrected the La Luz. Oh my goodness, it is glorious, especially with this pom-pom, don't you think? What an amazing pattern. It's so beautiful. This is by Alyssa Latucci, who is local to me here in Albuquerque, and this yarn is Chama. It's a ZiaWoolz yarn, which was a custom dye for myself. It is so nice and warm and so cute, I think. Great pattern, great hat, and I'm so glad I corrected it, because if you did not see me grumble and grouch about it before, but I had accidentally omitted this whole section between my fingers here. One chart that I had omitted. I don't know in what headspace I was when that happened. This was a 100-gram skein that I used, and this is how much I have left. Not sure, I haven't weighed it, but yeah, so one skein of yarn. The Chama is an 8-ply cabled yarn that I really enjoy using for things like this because it really pops with the stitch definition, because it's a very round and very defined yarn. Next is my other new pattern that will be coming up, where I finished another hat that I cannot use. Where's the beginning? I'm trying to find where the beginning of the cast on is, where I wove in the ends. Maybe here? Don't know. Cool. Okay, so this is my pattern, which I hopefully will publish soon. In this version, the yarns didn't work out. I mean, they worked out, it's a beautiful hat, but I cannot use this for my sample for the pattern because the yarn is classified as bulky and I didn't want that. So it's a very warm and very good looking hat, I think. What is this? Don't know. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And at this point, thank you again for all my test knitters, and a special thank you to Ramona. Thank you for who is doing the tech editing for me, reading over this. Hopefully the pattern will be published soon. It's called Desert Dancer. Sorry, talking about all these patterns, I have to have a little space out a little bit. But you're gonna say, what are you gonna use now? Which yarns are you gonna use for the final version? And I decided to use ZiaWoolz Cozy, my DK yarn, a very soft yarn. And if you recall, come here, my ball of yarn just ran away. I had this, which is, as far as I remember, the Heartbreaker. Same as the children's shawl. And then I wanted to use the yarn that's over there on the table. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Yep. So here it is. The colorway is called Bubble Bath and Lemonade. Now I always, thanks a lot Candace, I always have to think of lemonade when I have a yellow yarn and I have to name it. So I had these two together. I started working on this and I did not like it. I thought it would not work for an adult. It looked very cute and very pretty, but I thought I wouldn't want to wear it for myself, even though I like bright colors. This somehow wasn't right. So I went back to the drawing board and now I'm extremely happy with what I'm using. And this is it right now. Love, love, love. That's all I can say. Where is the yarn? I brought the yarn in a skein for you so you can see, because it makes me so incredibly happy to look at this. It's called Room to Bloom. And I was debating whether I should wait with this podcast episodes until I have some of these yarns that I want to show you in the shop, but whatever. You all, if you want anything, you just follow the shop. I don't have designated shop update times or anything like that. If you follow me on Instagram, you may see an announcement there. But otherwise, yeah, I will show you some yarns, but they're not even all dry. But that's going to be in a minute when we're through with all of this. Back to this pattern, back to this hat. So what I have noticed with this is that my gauge has indeed changed, weirdly enough, because the other one was a so-called bulky yarn and this is DK, but it's larger. So I will put it on so you can see. So I'm definitely at the point where I will start the crown decreases. And this is always a little bit more kind of like a slightly slouchy. If you can tell, you could already close it here and be fine, but well, maybe not. But I'll keep going and then I will go over my notes and make necessary corrections So this can finally go out into the world because it's still cold and we can all still wear some hats. What else have I been working on? There is one more, well, two more things. Oh God, my hair. Okay. In my Fat Squirrel library bag is my Hope and Feathers, which I am making from these two yarns. This is Desert Vibes, and this I have named Fizzy Lemonade. Last time you saw this, I was at the end of the Desert Vibes section, right here. And now this is what I have added, that whole zigzag section. And does it look familiar? Yes, it may, because it incorporates the pattern that is in the yoke of this sweater. Yes, it is the same designer, Mary Annarella. Yeah, 3.5 millimeter needles, not much else to say other than it will continue to grow because it's a beautiful shawl. And then, you know how sometimes these creative connectors in your head, or the gears, whatever you want to call them, they're fired up, and all of a sudden, I have no idea where this idea came from. I had been thinking about making another Il Grande Favorito. Let's pronounce it the correct way, shall we? So I wanted to make another one for myself, because I thought, wow, that's a great one. The way it turned out for my daughter. So I want another one. And I was thinking about what yarn to use, holding something double, of course. And I think what happened was that in the original pattern, Isabel Kirrmaier uses an Angora yarn, I think. My first Il Grande Favorito used Suri alpaca silk and two other yarns held together. But now I went and shopped my own stash, and I found a box. I found all of these. I hope nothing's gonna fall out. Yes. You see Schoppel-Zauberball, which is a German sock yarn, which in itself is for a sweater, maybe a little bit too rustic for my taste. But then all of these babies, what are they? Yes, you may guess. They are Angora. All of these I found at my mother's and brought them back long time ago because I love Angora yarn. I say that, but I've never knitted anything really Angora that I can recall. All I remember mainly is that in the 80s, I really wanted an Angora sweater, but I never could afford it. I think the yarn has always been too expensive. And I still have never bought a sweater's worth of Angora yarn. Now it's out of fashion, but hey, let's make it back into fashion. Bring it back. Let's bring it back. So I'm holding my Angora leftovers together with the Schoppel-Zauberball, and actually it's crazy Zauberball, I think. Crazy Zauberball. The Angora yarns are all vintage, literally, because you know where we are, and I'm talking about the 80s, so some of them must be 30 years old. You know where they sold, you remember when they sold these in 20-gram, little 20-gram balls? Yeah, this is the back of the sweater, and this is where I am in the front. I'm super happy about this. Yeah, it's kind of hard to show, but you get the picture. It is so incredibly yummy and soft. Yeah, and that's a good example for what we can do with leftovers and something special. I mean, you could also, if you say, wow, this is amazing, but I don't have any Angora leftovers, maybe you have mohair leftovers and mohair doesn't itch you. Or you say you're going to get a mohair yarn that changes color if you love the look of this. Let me turn it around again and show you the way this develops. It is really, really fun. I grab the yarns. I kind of, I do it kind of spur of the moment type of gut decision, and just let the colors flow and grow. I'm using, I believe they're 6mm needles, so still not quite what Isabel Kirrmaier asks for in her pattern, but I've adjusted I've chosen, like for my daughter, I had chosen size extra large. I think I may have cast on with the same stitch count. And yet again, I'm trying to go for a wide body and tight sleeves. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you, that's also what I did for this sweater. I wanted a wider body. I didn't want it to fit me tightly, and I wanted tight sleeves. So I did change the stitch count for the sleeves versus the body, which was very easy to do with a round yoke. Sorry, I had to tell you this, because you may think, oh, that's not how it looks in her pattern. Yes, it doesn't, because I changed it. And I did the similar thing for this, and Isabel Kirrmaier actually writes something about it in her pattern. She mentions how you can adjust this. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to mention, but I'm gonna lean back because this is chatty chat time now. I hope I'm gonna be able to phrase all of this the way I want to, because yeah, I've had I've had many moments of, well, let's start at the beginning. I've been dyeing a lot of yarns in the past days, and I have the Winslow Knitting Retreat coming up, and I'm going to be the supplier of, I mean, not the supplier of yarns, nonsense. I'm going to have a pop-up shop. And so that's what I'm working on right now, to have a nice selection of yarns. And what I usually do is I write my recipes on these cards, and then I laminate them, and that's what I work with. So I have a whole box full of colorways. I have a lot of them. I don't even know how many, never counted them. But I had to start an index because I have so many that I wouldn't find things anymore at this point. So an alphabetical index. But but what happens a lot of times, I am out there and I am dyeing, and then I'm dyeing maybe one colorway, and then I have an idea. Then things take off from there, and I dye a lot of new colorways, or sometimes it's just a test run for something that I won't turn into a colorway. And I all of this got me thinking, and I thought, it's hard to put into words for me, because it was a very emotional thought process, where I thought back of how when I started my yarn business, how, I would be uncertain about something and show it to a friend. And I clearly remember, for example, this one time where my friend said, I said, I really don't like this. And what do you think? And she's like, oh, I'm sure, I like it, and I'm sure someone will love it. There's a lid for every pot. And she, of course, had a point, because not everybody is going to love all the brights. Not everybody is going to love all the browns and greens. There's people who are drawn more towards blues, others who love the greens. You know what I'm saying. But all in all, from where I started off back then, I have experienced a lot of growth as a dyer, and it's in a big part because of you, the people who work with my yarn, because you allow me this growth. You have supported me even way back when I have dyed yarns that were maybe not super great, or maybe they were great for you, but I was feeling like, oh, this has to get better. And I've met people who said, hey, I remember way back when you were selling at the blah blah festival in Bosque Farms, I've bought some yarns from you and made this and that beautiful thing with it. And I'm like, oh wow, really? Oh, that's right, I did sell yarns way back when, and I'm not even so sure that was so great, but I'm comparing it to my standards now, and I'm sure they were nice, but you allowed me, by the love that you've given me way back then already, you've given me the room to develop and to evolve and to get better. But because if you hadn't bought my yarn back then, I couldn't have bought more bare yarns to dye more and to grow. So I really had this feeling of deep gratitude that was with me on the dye pots, this past week. And I also, I did want to mention, when I usually do dye what I personally love. I try to accommodate a knitter's needs, so I don't always dye all colorful, crazy yarns, but maybe I also dye something to complement that crazy colorful yarn for a sweater like this, or a shawl like this, where you need something a little more mellow to combine with a crazy colorful. But all in all, I must say that what I am dyeing for you is also what I love. So sometimes I say this is not good enough. I know this is a lot of talking, sorry guys, but I felt like it's important that I want to create yarn that is good and fun to work with. And so I thought, wow, this is what I scribbled on here. I thought I was going to make a colorway, but then I decided, no, this is just not good enough. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for all of you. Thank you also for those who watch the podcast, because we are now at 6,000 subscribers. I know a lot of them are Germans, and a lot of the viewers are German speaking, watch the German podcast. But there's also has been a steady growth in the US, and I thank you for that. Thank you for joining me here with my yarny ramblings. I also want to mention that it's kind of funny. It cracks me up. I told my husband, guess what? I just put out an ink and pen related video, and already I lost again 20 to 30 subscribers. Oh my gosh, what's up with that? Hey, this is me. This is the real deal. What you get in this podcast, that is me. I am Paper Dag on social media for a reason. I love to dye yarn. I love to knit. And occasionally, yes, there will be a pen and ink and paper related video. That's just the way it is. This is me, all for real. Dag, Paper Dag. Yeah, makes me laugh. So I expect when I have uploaded the next currently inked video in the next days, in the next week, I will probably go back down under 6,000. So whatever, it's just a stupid number. So I don't really care that much, even though thank you for the congratulation wishes on the comments. Okay, but back to yarns. I wanted to close today by showing you some yarns that I'm extremely excited about. Hold on. Okay, so when I started knitting on the Enchanted Dancer, what am I saying? The Desert Dancer hat. And when I started using this, which is called Room to Bloom, I've enjoyed, and I still am enjoying every single stitch. This is so fun to work with. So that's how I started off, and I developed with this new to me dye technique, connection to what I told you before. I developed a few new colorways, and I brought them all except for the ones that I rinsed this morning because they were dripping wet. But most of these are still moist. Oh no, this one isn't. This one was the one that came next. No, it's still wet. This is called Escape Room. Then sorry, I'm having my colorway names on my little pieces of paper, which I take out. This is called My Precious. Sometimes I'm having so much fun naming these. And then I have this one. This is a fingering. Let me take out the paper again. This is really still wet. I did this yesterday. This is called Loretta Sweetheart. And then, like I said, I am dyeing neutrals to go with these in a shawl, for example. I'm just holding them together. I don't even know if that would work. Yeah. This one is called Drama Queen. And this one is called the Green Queen. Homage to a friend in Israel who gifted me my very first hedgehog fibers yarn in a very similar color. Green Queen. And this is it. This was a long episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here with me yet again. Thank you for being with me throughout this journey of 100 podcasts up to 6,000 subscribers. And now I want to say, how long have I been making podcasts? 4 years? I have to look that one up. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I wish you happy knitting until we see each other again. Bye.